So today I'm going to do Sutta number 2. Ajahn did Sutta number 1. So now I will do, which is on page 16 and 17. It's very short, only 3 verses, but it's going to be very long. Okay, I'm going to take a long time explaining and unpacking this, so you will have to be very patient. Okay, so as a way of introduction, on the first night, remember I mentioned that the verses can be interpreted in so many different ways, and that there was one sutta, 6 different monks gave 6 different explanations. It was this one. So we might try to learn all 6 explanations. Are you interested or not? Yes. Let's see how we go. Anyway, so this is also quite one of the most profound suttas in this section. There are a few others as well, but this is one of them. And I'm already warning you that we will get a bit technical with this in order to understand, but once we understand the mechanics of the mind and how it works, and mechanics of workings of the cravings and things like that, then we can also talk about how we can apply into our meditation practice, into our daily life. Is that okay with everybody? If you get really bored, you can just shut down. All right, I'll try to make it interesting to my best ability. If not, we'll get Ajahn Brahmali to crack a joke. No. Okay. So I'll just straight away start by just reading out the whole thing. And hopefully you'll understand it straight away, then there will be no problem. So, I have the wrong sutta. Okay. Who here in the world is content? Said Venerable Ayya. Who is not agitated? What seer, having known both ends, is not stuck in the middle? Who do you say is a great man, who has gone beyond the seamstress here, leading the spiritual life among sensual pleasures? Replied the Buddha. Rid of craving, ever mindful. Having comprehended, a bhikkhu is quenched. For him there is no agitation. That seer, having known both ends, is not stuck in the middle. He is a great man, I declare, gone beyond the seamstress here. Now, who understands the questions in the first verse? Hands up. Really? You understand the questions in the first verse? What this person is asking? He's asking, having known both ends, is not stuck in the middle. Isn't that quite enigmatic? Do you understand what are these ends? And there is a seamstress. What's a seamstress got to do with anything here? Do you know who a seamstress is? Somebody who sews the seams, dressmaker kind of person. What is she doing here? Isn't that interesting? So the thing is, this person is maybe quite well developed. He has some understanding about the issues. So he's already asking, and the Buddha understands. So even if you see the other verses, still you don't see an answer. Buddha also saying, having known both ends, is not stuck in the middle. That's all he says. There is no explanation about what these 2 ends are, what's the middle, who this seamstress, and what she's got to do with anything here. Nothing. But obviously Ayya probably understood, which is why Buddha never had to give any further explanation. This is also going to show, like Ajahn was telling yesterday as well, some of these people, they probably were already doing quite a bit of meditation, contemplation, was quite getting close to understanding, but they were still blocked by things, especially with views, because they still had those very strong Brahmanical views. yet their personal experience probably was contradicting their views, and that's why they were like coming to the Buddha and asking these questions. So the problem that we are having right now, also the other monks, even at the time of the Buddha, had as well. So, since there were no Zoom sessions and, Buddha, you couldn't really always go and meet the Buddha. People didn't even know which village he was. So the common practice was when the monastics got together, they had discussions. There was always, some enlightened monastics as well. So they got together and they discussed. And one time, this one of the verses, this first verse came into discussion. So somebody, one of the monks asked, so what friend is one end? What is this other end? What is the middle? And who is the seamstress? Fair enough, right? We also want to know. In answer to this, 6 different monastics said 6 different answers. So the first one said contact, passa, right? I'll explain things what they are, but I'll just say in a short way first. So contact is one end. Arising of contact is the other end. Cessation of contact is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. And the second one says, past is one end, future is the other end, present is in the middle, craving is seamstress. And third one says, pleasant feeling is one end, painful feeling is the other end, neutral feeling is in the middle, craving is the seamstress. And the fourth one says, name is one end. Ajahn Brahmali explained name, right? Name and form. Did he? I don't know. So name is one end, form is the other end, and consciousness is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. And the fifth one says, 6 internal sense bases, that's the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, the one end. 6 external sense bases, that are the forms, sounds, tactile objects, all of those are the other end. Consciousness is in the middle, craving is the seamstress. And the last one says, personal existence is one end, origin of personal existence is the other end, cessation of personal existence is in the middle, craving is the seamstress. Now 6 different things, right? I don't know how many of you understood all of those terms, and how many of you are new to some of these terms, but never mind, we'll go through them slowly. But anybody who knows, you can see there are some feeling that you might get there is a connection in these things, but there are also different angles. So it's talking about the same thing but from different angles, different perspectives, right? Because you can look at the same object, and if you look at this cup from your end, you can't see that it's got a handle, but from my end I can see the handle, right? But it's still the same cup. So from different angles, the way you see the cup and the way you describe it would be different, the way you understand would be different, but at the end of the day you get the main point. So they went to the Buddha and they asked, so who is right? They were also like little kids. Am I right? Is he right? Who is right? And then the Buddha says, well, actually, all of you are right. You have all expressed in your own way, the way that you have experienced and understood and realized this Dhamma. So all 6 explanations are correct, but in the Tissametteya's question, in the Parayana Vagga, this is what I meant. And he says, contact is one end, arising of contact is the other end, cessation of contact is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. So I will spend time trying to explain these things, but in order to even try to get there, it is important to understand the perceptual process, contact and all of these things. Some of you may be familiar, but I'm sure there are people in the audience or people listening online who may not be familiar. So to make it complete, and also for people who know it, it's good to refresh your mind about these things so that you are here with me as we go through this. So allow me to just talk a little bit about that. And this is really beautifully given, this perceptual process and how it works, in the Madhupindika Sutta. It is Majjhima Nikaya 18. So I have bookmarked it here. And let's see how it goes. So the reason why we need to understand, because the first thing is about contact, right? And this is what the Buddha meant. And when we understand that, we will be able to relate that to all the other 5 different scenarios. So what is meant by contact? Passa in Pali. So in Buddha's words, this is how it goes, because I love that it inspires myself. Am I allowed to say it in Pali? And for anybody who enjoys it, I'll say it in Pali first, and then I'll explain it in English. So, chakkuncha paticca rupe uppajjati chakku viññānam. Tinnang sangati passo. Passa paccaya vedana. Yang vedaiti tang sanjanati. Yang sanjanati tang vitakketi. Tang vitakketi yang papancheti. So, with the when you have an I, this is the internal sense base, and when there is form, when you give attention to that, the contact happens with the arising of the I consciousness, chakku viññāna. So when you give attention, when you have I, when there is a form, when you give attention, that is when I consciousness arises at that moment. And coming together of these 3 is what is called contact. So you make contact, or it's an experience. Yeah? You experience the world with your eye. Same with your ear, right? So there's ear, there is sound. When you give attention only, you hear. Do you believe this? Sure? Because these days people have your phones, you're looking, you're listening, you're eating, you're probably contacting, you're doing everything at the same time. But it says one contact at a time is what happens. So when you give, because you can't give attention to too many things in one go. So the thing is, it happens very rapidly. But to make it real, to really be sure about it, I'm going to ask the question right now, what can you smell? You don't have to answer, but the moment I made a suggestion, did you realize you gave attention to your nose and you tried to see whether there's any smell? Did you smell something even? But before that, the smell was there, your nose was not dead, it was fully alive, but you didn't smell it, right? You didn't. Why? Because your full attention was on, hopefully, listening, or looking, or perhaps carried away with some fantasy, I don't know, or sleeping, but not with smelling, right? So this is what is meant. So when you give attention, at that time only, that consciousness arises, and that is called contact. When you contact, what happened? When you smelled something, so there is a feeling. Either what you smelled was pleasant, or painful, or neutral, right? There are only 3 different types of feelings. So whatever you feel, then that you perceive. Right? This is how you perceived, and you thought, what did you smell? Was it coffee? Was it somebody's perfume? Was it the smell of the feet? What kind of smell was it? Yeah? So you start perceiving. So after you perceive, you go into thinking about it. Oh, how dare somebody didn't wash their feet? or whatever it is, you start thinking about it, right? And then it goes into proliferation with the sense of me. I am the one who is experiencing this. And according to my understanding, this should be not like this. Or this I don't like. Or I like this. Or, whatever it is, somehow that proliferation has a lot of I, me, and my self inside, isn't it? This is how we proliferate in relation to me, from me, of me, to me, somehow like this. So this is where the Buddha says in this sutta, I didn't read it out, but this is what besets a person. Based on just simple sense experience, can you see how we get fired up with something, or so strong desire starts to come? What has happened is you just heard a song and you went back into memory. Maybe it was a song that you played during the wedding or when somebody's funeral. So sometimes just the sound of something, sometimes this food smell brings in memories and takes you to some place. Have you ever experienced that? This is what proliferation does, right? So the experience in the moment was only that, but after the contact happens, after the feeling happens, from that point onwards, the sense of the conceiving starts to happen, because I feel that I am here. We have a sense of self, already conceived a sense of self, and this sense of self then also fabricates all of these other things, put more into the experience, fabricates this experience to our liking. But the same experience, different people experience differently. We all might go to the cinema to watch one movie, but we may all write different reviews because we all saw our own movie according to our views, according to what I think is right, what my perceptions are. You know, they are all slightly different. So according to me, what happened was right, acceptable. Somebody would say, no, that's not acceptable. What they did was wrong, or whatever it is. Yeah? So this is how our experiences, then all of that, because both people would experience, in the sense the feeling up to that point would be very same thing. But from that point onwards, whether one calls it pleasant or painful or neutral, already conceivings had started. I'll give a good example. So before coming to Australia, I have never eaten olives. Right? I grew up in Sri Lanka. There are no olives at the time when I was growing anyway. So when I was here, then I had a friend, a Turkish friend, and he said, oh, my city, Bursa, he said, grows the best olives in the whole world. And olives are so yummy, and this and that, told me so much about olives, these things that I have never eaten. So I waited for some days, and there was my opportunity to eat an olive. So I had all these expectations after having heard so much about it. When I put it in my mouth, I spat it out in front of me. He said, what is this disgusting, bitter, salty thing you call yummy, right? But it did not take long, because he kept insisting that it's yummy and it's good for you and it's tasty. So kept giving olives to me. I kept trying it out little by little. I acquired the taste. This is what we call, you get an acquired taste. After a while, now I love olives. Right? Olives is yummy. Olives tasty. So what happens? So can you relate to this? So this is how. So in the beginning, it was a painful feeling. Now, it's a pleasant feeling. But what is it? It's just whatever the taste it is, right? It's just a taste. Whether you call it pleasant or unpleasant, it's our perception. Yeah, our perception, what did the Buddha call perceptions are? Perceptions are a mirage. Is a mirage real? But you can see it, right? It feels real. Especially if you are thirsty and if you are in a desert and you see this kind of water, a pool of water, it's very inviting. But you can never reach it. There's no water there, but it looks real. It even shows some reflections on it. So this is what these things are. They're fabricated, they're made up by our mind with this sense of self. So, and this is how, with using the basic, so there is this basic cognition that happens, that is that I meeting a form and I consciousness arising, and you start feeling something, experience, the felt experience, there's something. Up to that, it's the cognition, cognitive process. From that point onward, the conceivings started. I am the one who feels. I am the one who knows. I am the one who thinks. This belongs to me. All of these things, then I like it, I don't like it, this is nice, this is not nice. So this is how we then experience and we create. So now we are getting to understand how we are experiencing the world and how our likes and dislikes come about. And now we can also see how unreliable they are, right? I'm sure there are things that you loved as a kid that you can't stand anymore, right? There are food maybe, songs, maybe things, and now, and vice versa. So again, the thing is the same, but over a period of time, it has changed naturally. But if it has changed naturally, we can also make it happen, right? So this is about the spiritual path. Yeah, the spiritual path is about becoming, gaining mastery over our perceptions. Yesterday, or whenever I gave the last session, we spoke about one psychic ability that everybody could develop. Remember? You know, perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive, and unrepulsive in the repulsive. Like, you know, your most difficult person, you can give them a hug and have a lot of affection. So that kind of situation. So this is by gaining mastery over perception, because you realize, you know, liking, disliking, hating, loving, all of these things again are the way we project based on our perceptions, concepts, conventions, the views. They're all related, right? They all feed each other. So the Buddha says in the Sanya Vipallasa Sutta that our perceptions are distorted. Our perceptions are distorted, our views are distorted, our mind is distorted. So whatever we perceive, whatever experience we have of the world is distorted. It's always filtered through these distortions. So it's not reality, which is why we get fooled by things, which is why at one point the olive was disgusting, another point I'm loving it. Yeah, olive is just the olive, its taste remains the same. But my perceptions, my distorted perceptions, views, give a different experience of the matter. And with that, I act. Even could go and steal a jar of olives, right? If you like it so much, that could even happen. I'm just saying, just to show how these things can go to the extreme end. But it's just only simply an experience. So we fabricate a lot of these things. We are stuck in this. This is also, Ajahn was yesterday mentioning how delusion obstructs the mind. Yeah? And what obstructs delusion is the hindrances, right? Hindrances is what is the nutriment for delusion. So hindrances, we saw sensuality, ill will and negativity, the slothful mind, the restless mind, and the mind with doubt. These things are what distorts our perceptions. Yeah? So there is a beautiful simile in the Sangarava Sutta, I can't remember the number of it, and I think it's in Samyutta Nikaya 35 maybe. Anyway, it's a simile of the ball of dye. So if you have a bowl with dye in it, and seeing clearly your reflection is like when it's got pure, clean water, then you can have a real clear image, picture, a reflection of you. But if the water is colored with dye, what sort of image will you be seeing? A distorted image, isn't it? So this is like having sensuality in the mind. Sensuality colors our perception. The person we love, everything is so nice about them, everything. But if you ever had a love and hate relationship with somebody, you know what it's like, right? The person you love the most, after some time you hate the most, right? The person pretty much remained the same. They had all those qualities when you love them too, the qualities that you don't like. But when you're in love, when your mind is colored by sensuality, you only see the good side. Or everything, even the bad side, is seen as beautiful and nice and amazing. But later, it's the opposite. So anyway, that's what the sensuality does to your mind, like colored dye. And if the water is boiling, then can you see an image? Because the water is bubbling and boiling and steaming, you can't see. So this is like when you have ill will, anger, negativity in your mind. So when you have that also, you don't get a good, clear seeing of what's going on. This is why sometimes we end up saying things we later regret, right? This has happened to us, and later what do you say? Oh, at the time I couldn't see. Exactly, we say this, right? I couldn't see, that's why I did it. That's why I said it. At the time I couldn't see. And this is what the Buddha says. The Buddha says when these hindrances, when these defilements are there in our mind, the Buddha says in Buddha's own words, achakku karana, andhakarana, panya nirodhika. So achakku, chakku means eye, right? Achakku means you are like somebody who is without eye, like blind. Andhakarana means you are in the darkness. Panya nirodhika means your wisdom has departed. You are a fool, in other words. A nice way of saying you're being stupid. Panya nirodhika. Remember, good term. So this is exactly what happens when we have these defilements. This is how some people end up killing another person. Sometimes even somebody you love. At the heat of the things, you do this because you can't see clearly, because that anger, that defilement has distorted your mind and you act with it. It's very dangerous, isn't it? Very, very dangerous. So the third one, it's like if you have algae on the water. If the water is covered with algae, no chance of seeing anything, right? So this is when the mind is very dull. You're half asleep, don't know what's going on. So then you can't see also what's happening to you. And the fourth one is if the water is very wavy because it's very windy. So this is like the restlessness and worry. When the mind has these distortions, these things happening, then again you can't see a clear reflection. The last one is like muddy, turbid water. Again, you can't see, and that is doubt, right? It's a really dark, really very muddy, and then you can't see how deep, how dangerous, nothing. So this is just a beautiful simile called, in the Buddha's, in the Suttas called Sangarava Sutta. This is there, but it's a beautiful way to understand how our experiences of the world is distorted. And we live our life and we travel through samsara, through these distortions. This is why we are trapped in this sensuality. Yeah? Because yesterday somebody was asking the question right here, and I sort of hesitated to give an answer. This is why, because I wanted to give a full description before. The question was, in his response to the Brahmins, the Buddha guides them again and again towards letting go of sensuality, of views, of craving, of identification, and of the tendency to cling to experience. How can we give a small answer, right? We have to understand the problem that we are in, the mechanism that we are kind of born with in samsara. And turning these perceptions, the right way up, this is the whole path of practice. So there is another really beautiful sutta. I heard this for the first time during Ovada by Ajahn Brahmali. I have so much gratitude for him for bringing up. It's a very small sutta in Anguttara Nikaya 4 called the Nibbana Sutta. I think it's in the, I can't remember, 200 something. But anyway, you'll be able to find it, called Nibbana Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya. There, Venerable Ananda asked a question from Venerable Sariputta. They were good friends. And Venerable Ananda was already a stream winner, but not yet fully enlightened. And so many other people come later and they get enlightened, and he took a long time. But his question was very, very sweet. He's asking Venerable Sariputta, Bhante, why are some beings here? Why aren't they getting enlightened? What stops them? What's the matter? Something like that, not in exact words, something to that effect. He's asking why, what's the problem, what is stopping them, or So then Venerable Sariputta says, Ananda, it is because they are not skilled in 4 types of perceptions. It is because of that. If you're skilled in 4 type of perceptions, then you can make progress all the way to breakthrough. Are you interested to know what are these? There are 4 big categories. Hana bhaga sanya, visesa bhaga sanya, titi bhaga sanya, nibbedika bhaga sanya. So hana bhaga sanya is perceptions that lead to deterioration. So all of those sensual, delightful perceptions that drags you away from meditation. For first jhana, sensuality is what stops you. So all of the perceptions related to the sensual world is leading to deterioration. But when you compare to the second jhana, even the vitakka vichara part is seen as perceptions of like a deterioration. So to see whatever that takes you backwards in the path. It is also because of perceptions we go backwards. We slide back. So being able to understand these perceptions, so being skilled with these perceptions is understanding these perceptions, this way when I perceive things, it takes me on the wrong direction. So understanding the perceptions that lead to deterioration. Visesa bhaga sanya are perceptions that lead you to distinction, move you forward, move you onwards. So giving up the perceptions that are involved in renunciation of the sensual world, any way of looking at the sensual world in a way that you're able to let it go, that also done through perceptions, right? You have to develop certain perceptions to be able to let go of certain things. So those are called distinction. And also, even to move on from one stage into the next stage of meditation also is by seeing certain perceptions. So being skilled in these perceptions is necessary. So we have to understand perceptions in a deep way, right? Not just be blinded by them and kind of get stuck in the samsara. We need to wake up. We need to question, we need to look, and with a normal, ordinary mind, the amount we see is less, but we can still see, we can still identify a lot of perceptions that gets us into trouble and that takes us away from trouble. But the more peaceful the mind becomes, the more mindfulness you have, you will see even deeper, because these things are very, very cunning. They hide they come in very disguising ways, so it's hard, but when you have more clarity, you'll be able to see better and better. So this is the whole path. The whole path can be seen through development of perception. So the third one is titibhaga sanya. So titibhaga sanya is stability. So this one I don't fully understand. Maybe Ajahn Brahmali we have had lots of email discussions about 10-15 years ago on this. Anyway, this could be about like anenja, like when the mind is still very still in the jhana states. But still it also is a perception. The perceptions are still there to understand and know. And also being stuck in there as well can happen. So anyway, titibhaga sanya are those kind of very stable types of perceptions, but nibbedika bhaga sanya are the ones that lead to insights. So for example, if you have heard the term sabba loke anabhirata sanya, big term, perceptions that lead to non-delight in the whole world. Maybe you don't want to even hear this. Some people love the world so much, why would you want to develop such a thing? But if you want to end kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha, that is all the craving for sensuality, for existence and non-existence, if you want to go to that level, then you need to be able to develop this category of perceptions as well. It is those that leads you onto insight. There's many, these are just small examples only with my limited understanding, but to just give you an idea about these 4 broad classes so that we know to look out for them, to develop them, to understand them, and this is necessary if we want to make progress, because it is no easy matter to deal with this problem, because this craving, that's the seamstress, right? What does the seamstress do? She joins 2 pieces of clothes together, and the seam nicely hides everything, right? And it's nice nice dress, now you see all the bits and pieces and how it's done, everything is closed up. So it's a simile to show that the craving joins, one to the other and closes up something in the middle so that we are kept in delusion. This is where we need to open up the seam in order to receive the wisdom, in order to see clearly so that we can get enlightened, like we can reach extinguishment. But the job of the craving is to quickly close up the middle, so we never get a chance to understand. So our perceptions are then kept in that kind of distorted way, and she always distracts us. Nowadays, it's really craving is winning because you've got gadgets you willingly take up, going from one to the other. Craving doesn't have to worry too much. She's probably having a nice holiday because you're doing her work yourself willingly, right? So this is where we can try to now understand a little bit about this contact, arising of contact, and the cessation of contact, right? So here contact, we now spoke about what contact is. Contact is contact in the world through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and having an experience, experience of the world based on your 6 senses. So whatever experiences you have had of those, the pleasant ones, that is where you crave for, right? Unpleasant ones you crave not to have them. But the pleasant experiences, whatever you perceived with your distorted perceptions, I'm sorry, you want them, you crave for them. And when you crave for them, what happens? When you die, you get another eye. Do you think you crave for eating nice grass, really nice green grass? No. But the kangaroos, they do, right? Yes. Because this is the thing, different bhavas, different existence, beings of different existence crave for different things, right? We crave. So what is your most likely next rebirth? Very likely your cravings are towards the human realm, right? Because that's what you know. You like human food, human people, human experiences, unless of course you are meditating and in jhana all the time, then you probably go into the jhana realms. But if not, most likely this is the thing. So you like to see what human beings like to see. Do you like to see a kangaroo mate or a human being mate? Human being mate, right? Kangaroo maybe as a nice thing to look at, but not with the desire to mate. So in the same way, so when we die with attached to what we see, what we like to see as human beings, what we like to eat as human beings, what we like to listen, think about, feel, all of these things, based on our experiences, the contacts we've had. If we die attached to them, attached to the I, this comes up beautifully in the Anathapindikowada Sutta, I think towards the end in Majjhima Nikaya in the 140s. When Anathapindika, one of the Ajahn mentioned the other day how he heard the word Buddha, and he said, "Did you say Buddha?" He did that, remember? So this was him, like when he served the Sangha, served the Buddha for a long period, and he was dying. And was the Buddha there at his deathbed? No, it was Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Ananda who was there. And then they were trying to get him enlightened. He was already a stream winner, but he was too busy with all the work they were doing to support. So then at least in his deathbed they were trying to get him enlightened. So they were saying to Anathapindika, "Please, Anathapindika, don't die attached to your I, or attached to forms, or attached to eye contact, or attached to feelings born as a result of eye contact, or any pleasant, pleasurable feelings to the eye consciousness. Don't die attached to any of those things, because if you die like that, you will get another eye." Again, they go on through the whole 6 senses. Don't die attached to an ear. So can you see the danger? Can you see the danger? Yeah, so this is the thing. So if we have these kinds of attachments, we will get another body. So this is what happens. So contact here, one end, the Buddha says, right? The Buddha says one end is contact. These are the contacts that we have been having already, the contacts that we have already experienced. So when we have experienced them, we have taken them as whatever we have taken as pleasant, then we project into, we want more, we die with longing for them. And then another rebirth. Again, you are born again, continuing on with what you like again and again. So that's why the second end is being born, another life coming up, again continuing on. So cessation of contact. Contact comes to an end. It is possible for this to end. But that the craving never allows us to see. She quickly put a stitch and brings the two together. We never get a chance to see the cessation of contact. So that is the first one there. So because the craving is so fast, we never get to understand what's going on, this cessation business. If we see the cessation of contact, we won't get so fooled by this experience. Right now, we are quite fooled by experiences of the world, isn't it? That's why we run after these things, chase after. All our life we chase after things. That's because we get fooled by things. But if we see the cessation of these things, ending of these things, then we don't get as fooled. Last night there was a question about fear, right? Some of our fears come because of this. You know, the painful feeling. If we see the painful feeling also coming to an end, if we also see painful feeling is only this much, you know, if we truly see that, then we can deal with it, right? Not so afraid of it. And the things that we love as well, if we realize, you know, it's only this much, the investment that goes into obtaining the things that you want in life. How hard do you have to work sometimes to go on that holiday or to buy whatever expensive thing that you want to buy? It's a big investment of your time, money, energy, right? But sometimes what it delivers is very little. Like Ajahn Brahm says, craving promises you so much and delivers very little. But we get fooled by it all the time because we don't have a good understanding. The nature of craving is, like we said in the last time, also in how it is given at the second noble truth. Yayam tanha, pono bhavika, tatra tatra binandini. What? Yayam tanha, pono bhavika, nandiraga sahagata, tatra tatra binandini. So this craving now delights here, now delights there, and bring on renewal of existence again and again through sensuality, so kama tanha, and through craving for existence, and also craving for non-existence in the sense you are there and you want to sort of end yourself like as kind of suicidal kind of thing, like you kind of sort of annihilating yourself or something like this. So the craving, working of the craving as it is there, it's really hard to see the cessation. So this can be understood in also multiple ways, even that first one, contact, arising of contact and cessation of contact. So one, both ways are important. So the first way I mentioned was the contacts that keep happening, so that was the contacts that we pass, so past contacts, and that is in this life. And then arising of contact is the future life, and in here the meaning is cessation of contact is nibbana, the ending of all contacts. But the possibility to end is not even seen because the craving closes this opportunity. But this nibbana happens here and now, right? Not at the end of the life. Nibbana, the ending of suffering, happens through meditation one time during this life, during this perceptual process, right? When it is corrected, it gets corrected. So this is where even the actual arising of individual contacts in the present moment is also very profound. They are not as profound and they cannot be really seen with the ordinary level of mind, just our day-to-day mind. So that is why it is not as exciting. But when in deep meditation, your access to the 5 external senses are gone, right? So there is no eye contact, ear contact, nose, tongue, or body contact. That's all gone at that time. There is only mind contact. So you only have one thing. And your mindfulness is, as Ajahn Brahm says, superpower mindfulness, right? It's really sharp now. The hindrances are subsided. You're very alert, very sharp, very mindful, and you are watching. And as you're there, as you're aware, what you could see is the arising of mind contacts and ceasing of mind contact. Because mind is kept up in the jhana state, in the meditation state. But you see everything very powerfully, but without any body being there. Just a process of arising and ceasing, and arising and ceasing of mind contacts. So at that point, it is able to have a breakthrough, to understand this is just nothing. What I take to, sometimes people take, I am the knower, so even the doer is gone, but I am still the knower. But even that they get to understand. So this is a very subtle point to even comprehend, but just to even sort of in a way of understanding. So this is where it is important to see. You see the arising of one contact, it ceases, and the arising of the next contact. So how can you do that if craving is still there, right? Because she's very fast in putting stitch. So this is where we use something like the breath meditation or any form of samatha meditation object. What it does is it keeps the mind in one place rather than allowing the mind to run to the future or to the past. We spoke about this during the last session. Keeps it in the middle into one object. So therefore there is the opportunity for mindfulness to grow, right? Because we said in the Megya Sutta the Buddha gives, one of the abilities of the breath meditation is to cut through your thoughts. Yeah, your thinking mind subsides. The mind becomes very powerful. When that happens, the craving loses her power. Yeah, she is not able to work as fast. But what happens is we take away the thread. So an enlightened being has taken away the thread completely. So without a thread, can she join the 2 pieces of cloth? She might have still the needle and try to stitch, but the 2 pieces of cloth always remain not connected, right? So an enlightened being has completely burnt the thread from her, so she no longer can put a stitch that can put the 2 pieces together. But before that, what happens with this meditation process is subsiding the craving to a large degree. When the craving subsides, when she's not able to put the stitch up, the present moment is more available, more open. We are not otherwise alert to the here and now in a good way, right? We are always past or future. So we never get to see. But in meditation, this is why we see the cessation aspect of contact. And this is really, really important for us to have a good understanding, to have that breakthrough, not to get fooled by just a bunch of processes. That's all there is, right? So in order to see that, this is why we meditate. This is how we are going to work through this and overcome this seamstress. So did that make sense to anybody? Are you still with me? Or did I lose some people? It's okay what to do if I lost some people. I was trying my very best to explain something probably quite not that easy to grasp, and it is okay. We can have a few more attempts at understanding it. There are a few more other opportunities coming up as well, not today because we are already coming close to the end, but I still have time. So in the sutta itself, what did the Buddha say? So So having known both ends, she's not stuck in the middle. He is a great man, I declare. So this stuck in the middle can also be seen in many other layers as well. So one of the stuck in the middle is because you don't see the middle, so you are still kept up with craving. But last time we were also talking about past and future, right? Do you remember in the sutta that we discussed earlier with Jatukani also had a one end and two end and the middle, and we spoke about it as past, future, and how not to get stuck in the present moment. So this is also really interesting, how we can, even in deep meditation, get stuck. Yeah, we can get stuck. Especially if meditation is done without the help of right view. So this is why sometimes you can just watch the breath and the mind can become very powerful. Even at the time of the Buddha, before the time of the Buddha, also people had deep meditations, but what they lacked was right view. So in the Buddha's way of describing a jhana or this deep meditation is one that is supported by the other 7 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, right? So anugrahita, so they are being supported by the other 7 factors, and the first one is right view. So right view is necessary. If you have right view as a basis, then the chances are you will not get stuck, because this is what Ajahn Brahm also mentions all the time, not to worry about getting attached to jhana. If you get attached to jhana, there's only 4 problems, 4 possibilities: stream winner, once returner, non-returner, or arahant, so no problem. But that is if you have right view, right? But without that you can get to a deep mind state if you don't have right view. But then you could get stuck because you could identify yourself with those states. This is what some of these Brahmins probably were doing, and this is also probably what gave them the idea. Maybe that is the uniting with the Brahma or something. Like it's amazing, beautiful mind states, because they also meditated, they also did the Brahma Vihara, so they had beautiful minds. The only thing was they had the wrong view. So stuck in the middle with wrong view. So it's not only craving that is very gluey and gooey, but also views are even worse. Yeah. So we also spoke about with the ogres. Yeah, there was the Kama ogre, Bhava ogre, Ditthi ogre, and Avijja ogre. So the floods, there were 4 different kinds of floods. Sensuality was one, but views was another one, right? It is also an ogre, a flood, and this is also very dangerous. So it is with this kind of wrong view that you can get stuck in the middle. This is what happened to the Buddha's 2 previous teachers, Alara Kalama and Uddakarama Putta, because they also had quite good meditations. And that is why after his enlightenment, he thought, who should I teach first? And the 2 people came to his mind was his 2 teachers, because he realized they were probably quite well developed. They were only missing this right view, and if I can give this what I learned, they will be able to break through into through this cycle quite easily. But unfortunately, one of them has passed away the night before, and the other one a week before. So those 2 people already he couldn't help. But I don't know whether this information, the rest what I'm saying is in the commentaries or not, according to the way that they were practicing, because one was practicing in the nothingness, akinchayatana, and neva sanya na sanyayatana, neither perception nor non-perception. The 7th and the 8th attainments in the path after the 4, this is in the 4 immaterial jhanas. So the lifespan, if you're born in such a Brahma realm, is very long, 84,000 eons or something like that. It's a very long period of time. Yesterday we spoke what an eon was like, right? So long period of time, they're stuck. They're stuck in the middle with their view, because they had the view of an Atman, right? There's a body, there is somebody here, and then uniting with something, with a greater being, the universal consciousness. All this Ajahn Brahmali was also mentioning during his talks about the Brahmanical ideas. So because of their view, they got stuck in a very long lifespan. So this is also how dangerous it can be. So this is how we can get stuck in the middle. There is only very little time, so I'm not going to go any further. But next time I will probably read out a sutta where the Buddha talks about how we are stuck, and stuck inwardly and distracted outwardly, which is also quite nice for us to know. So I shall stop here, but I will take my time to go through this sutta. Hope you are all okay with it. Okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.